This is a presentation on industrial psychology in the area of employee development in larger organizations. Liberty University Psychology Department, and I am your presenter, Will Maurer, PhD student. In today's changing dynamics of the workforce, we see that there is lots of research going on that relates to this area of employee development and training. And the changing dynamics that are going on with all of the economics in the post-COVID era that we are in, companies are scrambling to find ways to continue to be strategic in attracting employees. For a season, we saw that there were more jobs available than there were potential employees that wanted jobs. And so this created a dynamic where employers had to find ways to attract talent and find ways to set their company apart. So this area of employee development and training not only has to do with just the onboarding process of a new employee coming into a company, but it also has to do with how do these companies attract potential candidates. This has to do with, like, related to that, the recruiting process, and then once they hire an employee, how do they develop that employee? Because that's important, as well as what we are seeing is because there's so many options, people will leave a company if they do not feel like they are a part of that company, or they don't agree with the company's vision, or they have problems with leadership, or the purpose of their job doesn't seem to be fulfilling them. They're going to leave and they're going to find something else. So that's why a lot of the research is so new on this topic, even within the last couple of years, because this is an area that is really vital to a company's survival. Things are more competitive in the business world, even nonprofit world. There's competition for being relevant and being able to withstand all of the pressures that are coming from various angles. So, in looking at the research on this, four themes emerge. The first one is that of human resource role in employee development and training. Number two, technology influence in training employees. And number three, commitment to holistic initiatives. And then four, leadership styles and how this influences employees' perceptions. So the first one we'll look at is human resources and its role in employee development and training. So the first point there is on entrepreneurship, and this is a key area because, again, companies have to be more flexible in this day and age. They can't rely on the models of the past. They are having to be more creative. They're having to change with the times, and this is kind of being forced on them because of all of the changing economics of the day, with more competition and so many companies struggling with the post-COVID environment. And one study that I looked at showed that by being more creative in the human resource department, almost having a focus on entrepreneurship, like re-engineering human resources, that was key to this area developing, and companies are kind of following suit with the studies that have been done that show that the human resource department can't just be this hiring and firing tag that has been attached to it in the past, especially in larger organizations where people hate to see them coming, or look at them as someone that's going to, bring bad news. They're trying to reverse engineer human resources into something where it's a positive, and that takes a lot of work. So they're really wiping the board clean and coming up with all kinds of new ideas. Um, One company used human resources to help employees onboard, and did a lot of work in interviewing the employees about what they were looking for, um, helping to understand their work home life balance, um, being creative in how they're setting up schedules for employees, so there's more flexibility for time off or things that come up, like having having children and being able to accommodate people, and being sensitive to family issues as far as kids programs, things that parents want to be a part of. Um, they're understanding how to use human resources to really look at the whole person. So it also comes down to a commitment to employee development. Um, Companies looking at a wider lens approach to this um, are finding that they can produce higher employee satisfaction, and yet remain competitive. And this is something that has gone on in the recent times, where in the past, when jobs were harder to come by, the whole emphasis in a structure of a company was on competitiveness, and it was more of a cutthroat sort of approach that, hey, we've got the jobs. If you don't like it, um, there's 100 people in line for your job. There's the door, that kind of thing. That old school approach to all that matters is the numbers. Now we're seeing a trend in a focus on how do we help employees to become satisfied in their work. And by looking at that objective first, the competitive stuff, the competitive nature of a company or an organization tends to fall in place when they have that objective, as opposed to just always being about the numbers. So the wider lens view of human resources, um, and the way that they look at employee satisfaction is helping, and it is not sacrificing competitiveness. So again, it's about finding and retaining the right people through the human resource department. Also engaging human resource in job creating. This is something that is assisting companies where they are not just looking at outsourcing this, but really using the human resource department within to uh, almost create jobs and brainstorm with management about the type of people they want, about the type of company they want to have, and the type of people that they want to attract. The next area is on technology, and this is huge. With the development of AI and even things like um, video technology through Zoom. A lot of the meetings are happening in these forums. We see that, again, because of COVID, people had to work from home and access company files online, and so there's all kinds of concerns about privacy and how much of a company's accounting and sensitive materials are being accessed by employees over the internet, and how safe that is for the companies just being able to control that. The first area that I wanted to highlight is our AI, the artificial intelligence. We see this happening in recruitment, where they're working with search engines where people are, searching for certain things online, and companies like Indeed, a recruiting website that companies use to find people, is working in tandem with search engines to bring jobs that they think would be a good fit based on a person's search results, or the way that they're looking for things online, or their profile, and being able to use AI to recruit people. This is something that is a new trend, but is really taking off, and so companies are definitely utilizing AI in that area. The other area that the technology is coming in is in training employees, and this is not just in the area of training employees when they first come into a company, but also ongoing. And what the studies are showing is that in the initial training, they're finding that having technology do the onboarding training of kind of the nuts and bolts of their job, and giving them information about the company that they need to know to do their job, that of course is cutting down costs of having to have people in those roles. And it's the studies are showing that companies that are doing that type of onboarding training are not sacrificing quality. So the employees themselves are not negatively viewing technology as a means of training them when they first start in the company. But as they go on throughout the company, when they're being forced to sit in a room and have a computer train them on some new initiative, there is a negative reaction to that. So what employees are wanting in the area of ongoing training is in-person training where it's relational. And so technology is useful in some areas of training, but it does not take the place, at least the studies are showing, it does not take the place of ongoing training. And so there's a combination there. Finally, the use of technology for employee health is something that is being used to track employees, workout schedule, like health as far as their diet, giving them information on these kinds of things to help them become a more well-rounded person. And so they're saying that employees are engaging in these things, whether it be an app or a part of email, like an email chain that's going on, that's informing them of new ideas that they can implement in their life, and that they are using technology for that. And it's having a positive effect on a corporation's overall health, such as encouraging employees to be conscious about their health, or work out, and having even healthy, fun competitions about workout programs, and losing weight, or eating healthy and sharing this kind of information through technology is bringing down the costs of companies' healthcare. So if they're proactively encouraging this type of lifestyle, the employees are not as likely to have health conditions that would increase the company's liability. So that is an area that technology is shown to be beneficial. So this next issue is about the commitment to holistic initiatives in the employee development area. And holistic meaning caring for the entire person, whether it be emotional, physical, even spiritual, is also being studied at some level. And the first area there on kind of to get into the nuts and bolts of this is the emotions between employee and supervisor relationships. This is something that is being addressed more and more and showing that an employee's satisfaction in their work is directly related to their relationship with their supervisor. So if they have a negative experience, or the person supervising them, managing them, overseeing them, if this is something that is negative, a person is less likely to stay at the company. The companies that are retaining people the longest are companies that have positive supervisor-employee relationships. And so what they're doing is they're training supervisors on how to be relational. It's not enough just for a supervisor to know their job and to know what they require of their employees, but take it to the next level, help that supervisor to become more relational in the way that they behave and the way that they interact with the employees. And this produces an environment where the employees want to be there, as opposed to, a boss that is demanding and overbearing and a micromanager and, some of these things that are perceived as being negative. The employees are not going to be satisfied in their work, and eventually they're going to move on because, again, there's all kinds of options for them to look for other work. The next is the concern for mental health, and companies are providing on-campus counselors that help with mental health. They're encouraging therapy. They're even providing work and home balance workshops and training seminars. These are done to try to treat the whole person, and the employer relationship is enhanced, and employees are more satisfied with their work when they have a better mental health perspective going on. Also, I mentioned the physical, but another study even looked at employees' spirituality and the connection between this and their adaptability to their career. So, because things change, employees have to adapt to the changing culture, to the changing economics, and that a lot of times companies are shifting gears and turning and going different directions, and they're finding that spiritually, this change in direction is has to be accounted for. A company has to account for the employees' not only mental and physical health in these changes, but their spiritual guide in their life, or whatever their religion is, and being sensitive to that in the way that they're changing the way that the company flows, or the way that the company is moving in a different direction. So just an overall sensitivity to that goes a long way in helping employees to be adaptable in their career, because so many things in the job environment is changing. Finally, the approach to caring for an employee's work performance and their non-work life produces longevity. A study has shown in 2021. This again is a trend that companies and organizations are looking at how they can care for an employee's what is known as non-work life. I'm sure there's other terms, but that is one that fits anything outside of work, like family, recreation, involvement in the community, serving projects. These things are helping to enhance the entire person's lifestyle. And so companies are doing things like having a work project day where they volunteer, maybe for a nonprofit, and encouraging employees to come out for that. Having fundraising initiatives where the company is caring about the environment, or an issue in their community that needs help, and they're engaging their employees in these kinds of activities, and it's helping to produce employee longevity when they do that. Finally, our next up is the key role of leadership in employee development. And this is something that is also rapidly changing due to the changing culture. We see even major corporations making shifts in hiring CEOs, hiring the key leadership roles in a company, and they're going in different directions with their approach to that as opposed to their approach in the past. One thing that is a popular leadership style is the transformational leadership approach. And this is a kind of a 360 view of leadership, where the CEO or key leaders in the company or organization are allowing employees to speak into the way that they lead, which is very vulnerable, and it's a very open idea for the CEO or the leader to be able to allow this to happen and get that feedback. Companies are being more just aware of what the employees are going through. They're offering things like surveys for the employees to do, even as often as quarterly, for them to fill out what they view about the CEO, or what they view about their manager, or what they view about the company's purpose and their satisfaction in their role in the company. These are things that are producing kind of this 360 leadership approach, or it's also called transformational leadership. And employers are being trained on this, and by embracing this type of a leadership style, it's showing that it produces higher job satisfaction and retention. There's also some newer trends proven to be successful, such as a strengths-based model, which is focusing on doing more upfront work when it comes to career training. They're identifying what are the strengths needed for this particular job and finding this, helping to find the strengths in employees that match um, what that job is intended to do or to accomplish. And so what they're doing now in this area of development is trying to match a person's strengths to their job and not so much of putting a bunch of responsibilities into a job, like combining a lot of different factors that just are thrown in to, um, try to fill a person's schedule. They're saying, let's really emphasize a person's strength in this model, and they're having success in the way that an employee embraces that job. And so this strengths-based model is definitely a newer approach, but showing strong results, positive results. So there's also investments being made in in the employees themselves, and this is showing to produce long-term dividends. Their companies are providing workshops and training seminars, but also even offering conferences for employees to go to get trained further in their job. And this type of an approach is proving to be successful. Also in this is the idea of encouraging employees to be entrepreneurial in their career, allowing them to be creative in the way that they conduct their job, and asking for feedback on how their job could be improved or changes that need to be made. And again, this comes back to the kind of the 360 transformational leadership style, but also incorporating some of the other models that have to go into, like the strengths-based model. Or there's also other models that are coming out that are producing the same thing. And so the idea is that employees are caring more about the purpose of the company, and their view of leadership has a lot to do with this. If they see leadership as being greedy or just in it for the position, and kind of viewing leadership in that way, then those employees that have that negative perception, that becomes a problem that the company has difficult time dealing with. Whereas when there's seems to be this positive view of leadership and a positive understanding of the company's purpose and their place in the world, then the employees themselves embrace that, and it makes for a better work environment. So in wrapping up, the workforce is changing as the economics are changing. In this post-COVID world, people are going back into the office, but some things have changed that will forever be changed, such as just for an example, the whole Zoom technology and doing meetings online gives people more flexibility. They can do a Zoom meeting from their car while watching their son's soccer game. This is kind of the way things are going. Companies are adapting. Companies are being forced to catch up with the times, or they're going to be left behind. Companies closed, couldn't manage through the changes in the economics, or couldn't be competitive. And basically, if you don't catch up with the times, you're left behind. Organizations that care for employees' well-being are creating work environments that people want to stay in. for the long term, and that's what companies are really focused on, is how they can attract talent, how they can develop that in a person and create a work environment that people want to be in and stay in. Also, technology is a key factor, but the key with that is too much technology can be a negative. So companies are learning to find that balance. Um, Finally, in wrap up, leadership is still the key. Every company has that in common, that the purpose of the company flows from the leader's vision for the company or the leadership team. And no matter what has changed with this more team approach that's going on, leadership still remains a huge key that cannot be ignored. The culture is set by the leaders, and the more that the leaders are sensitive to the needs of their employees, the better the employees are going to embrace the leadership's vision and want to stay at the company and want to do their job well. So, thank you for listening. Here are some resources on this topic that you can look at if you'd like to. And appreciate your attention and have a good day. Thank you.